Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Tabletop Tilt. Today we are talking Ira Crimson Haze. We're doing a deck tech. Of course, she's a young hero, so we are talking Blitz. Now, I want to mention that this deck list is not original. I used a combination of a couple of deck lists from the FabTCG website, a couple deck lists that made the top 5 at BlitzCon back in November. Ira performed very, very well at that event. Ira lists made up 4 of the top 5 decks in that Blitz event. So very, very powerful. Let's get into this. So, of course, in our hero slot, we're running Ira Crimson Haze. Pretty straightforward. She's a young hero. She has 4 intellect, 20 life to start, and your second attack each turn gains +1. So, how do we take advantage of that? Well, we run a pair of harmonized Kodachis. Reason being, you can attack with both of these easily each turn. You need 2 resources. Ideally, you want to pitch a card that has 0 cost so that you give your Kodachis go again. That way you can attack with both your Kodachis each turn and ideally follow it up with a strong attack action card. Now, as far as armor and equipment goes, in the head slot, we have Mask of Momentum. This is a very, very powerful piece of head equipment for Ninja. Once per turn effect reads when an attack action card you control is the 3rd or higher chain link in a row to hit, you draw a card. So, this works really well with 2 harmonized Kodachis because ideally you want to pitch a card with cost 0 so that you can attack with both your Kodachis and then follow it up, like I said, with an attack action card. That forces your opponent basically to block the 1 and 2 power Kodachi attacks. Otherwise, they risk not being able to block your powerful 3rd attack action card, letting you possibly draw a card. And card draw is key in this game, in this deck, in Blitz. It is very, very powerful. So you want to get this ability to trigger as often as possible. And the Kodachis really help with that because you're basically forces your opponent to block if they don't want to give you that card draw. So then moving on to the chest slot, we're of course running the Fendel's Spring Tunic. This really straightforward card, basically free resources. Every 3 turns you get a free resource out of it. The big thing though is just don't forget to add counters each turn because it really sucks if you miss 1 or 2 and you need that resource and you don't have it available. Trust me, I've done it many times. In the arms slot, we are running Breaking Scales. This is just a common piece of ninja equipment, but it's great because the attack reaction is destroy it. Target attack action card with combo gains +1 attack. Now, the really nice thing about this is it has Battle Worn, not Blade Break, so you can defend for 1 and it does not get destroyed. Means you can defend for 1 with it and still use the attack reaction ability later on. Now, you want to use that attack reaction wisely, i.e. to trigger the mask. If you have, set up a really, really good turn where you attack with multiple cards, use the attack reaction to give +1 attack to make that 3rd attack hit and be able to draw a card off the mask. That is the ideal scenario. In the legs slot, we are running Breeze Rider Boots. This reads when a ninja attack action card you control hits, you may destroy it. If you do, attack action cards with combo gain go again this turn. Now again, this has Battle Worn, so you can defend for 1 and it does not get destroyed. You want to use this ability when you have a dream hand to gain tempo or finish off your opponent. When you have multiple cards with combo in your hand and you have the resources to pay for it, this is when you want to fire this off and give all those combo attack action cards go again so you can really hammer your opponent one big turn. It's awesome when you make it work. Now, moving into the rest of the deck itself, in the blue slot, we start off with a Lunging Press. Now, this, honestly, you want to pitch this most of the time. This is one of those cards that you want to pitch to be able to give your Kodachis go again. It pitches for 3 and has 0 cost, so it gives your Kodachis go again. But sometimes this card comes in really handy to give an attack action card +1 and again get through to hit your opponent and be able to trigger card draw off the mask. So a lot of the time you're going to be pitching this, but once in a while the ability really, really comes in handy and it costs 0. Next up, we're running 2 copies of Whelming Gustwave. honestly, you're not going to be playing this a whole lot. This is just another card you want to be able to pitch it for 3, and it costs 0, trigger those Kodachis. And same thing with Rising Knee Thrust. You're not going to be able to, you're not going to want to attack with this very often. Now, from there, we've got Flusterfist. Again, same thing. You want to pitch this to be able to pay for the Kodachis. Same thing with Soulbead Strike. And lastly, Crane Dance. Again, you want lots of these blue pitch 3 resource cards that cost 0 in order to be able to trigger those Kodachis. That is the key. Lastly, in this slot, we have Flick Flack. Again, it's a blue pitch 0 cost card, but this you will use this sometimes because it's a defense reaction card, so sometimes it'll come in handy when you need to be able to block something as opposed to pitching it for resources. So from there, we get into the yellow pitch cards. We only have 3. We've got Torrent of Tempo. Just a really good card. It let me get out of the way. It attacks for 4. It's a ninja attack action, and if it hits, it gains go again. For cost 1, it's very, very good. You will actually attack with that most of the time as opposed to pitching it for resources. Same with Whirling Mist Blossom. It costs 1, and it is a very, very good ability. If it hits and it's the 2nd or higher chain link in a row to hit, you draw 2 cards. It only attacks for 2, but that ability is extremely powerful. Like I said earlier, guys, card draw is so crucial in Flesh and Blood, okay? Lastly, we have Springboard Somersault, just a phenomenal defense reaction card. It costs 0. If you play it from Arsenal, it gains +2, so it blocks for 4 total if you play it from Arsenal. That being said, this is a Crucible of War rare, and it's a little hard to get your hands on right now. I've been trying to get my hands on one for a while, and I still don't have one, so alternatively in this slot, you could run Fate Foreseen. It's a red card, so it doesn't pitch for as much, but it also costs 0, and it also blocks for 4, and it allows you to opt 1 as well. I think having the choice to be able to pitch the Springboard Somersault for 2 as opposed to 1 makes it a little better than Fate Foreseen, but if you don't have any Springboard Somersaults, I would recommend running Fate Foreseen instead. Now, speaking of defense reactions, we get into our red pitch cards. First up, we've got Sink Below. Honestly, this is just an auto-include in a lot of decks. One of the best defense reaction cards in the game. It's generic, it goes in anything, it costs 0, it defends for 4, and you may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck and draw a card at the same time as you play it. So, fantastic card. Next up, we have Flick Flack. We looked at this in the blue slot. Blocks for 4, costs 0, and you won't worry about the text too much if the next card you defend with this turn is a combo card. It gains +2. Not going to be relevant very often, but sometimes it will be, and this is just a great defense reaction card that you should be running. Next up, as far as red cards go, we get into the real spice, the things that are really gonna make your opponent sweat. First up, we have Command and Conquer. This is just one of the best cards in the game. It's generic. Defense reaction cards cannot be played to Command and Conquer's Chain Link. If it hits a hero, you destroy all cards in their arsenal, and it hits for 6, and it only costs 2. Bomb card, it's tough to get a hold of. It's a little pricey because it's a Majestic from Arcane Rising, but if you can get your hands on 2 copies of this, I highly recommend it. Same goes for Enlightened Strike. This is arguably even better because it costs 0, it attacks for 5, and is you don't have to put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck in order to pay for it, but you get to either draw a card, give it +2, or give it go again, and again, costs 0. So again, this is a really, really good card. This one's from Welcome to Wraith. I think it's a little cheaper than Command and Conquer, but again, if you can get your hands on a couple copies of this card, you should absolutely be running it. Now, lastly, I think the 3 last attack action cards we start off with Soulbead Strike. Again, get out of the way. It attacks for 4 and costs 0. If it hits, it gains go again. Just a great card. That's one you want to finish off with your third or fourth chain link after you've hit with those Kodachis. Really, really nice. Torrent to Tempo, same thing. If it hits, it gains go again. This one costs 1 and it attacks for 5. Great card. Lastly, we round it out with Flying Kick. Now, Flying Kick, if it's chain link 3 or higher, which usually it will be, because usually you'll attack first with your 2 Kodachis, it gets +2. So it costs 2, but it's hitting for 7. Now, I'm not actually sure about this card because one of the other lists that was played at BlitzCon ran Drone of Brutality, 2 copies of Drone of Brutality instead. Drone of Brutality is really, really great. It costs 2 and attacks for 6, so a little bit less, but if it would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, you put it on the bottom of your deck instead. That's really, really powerful because in Blitz, I've played a few games of Blitz, and it's not uncommon to run out of cards in your deck, and this always goes back to the bottom, so it kind of ensures you will always have gas if you run out of cards in your deck. And even though the Flying Kick attacks for a little bit more, I think Drone of Brutality is better because that will happen once in a while, and it just ensures that you've always got gas available in your deck. So I think Drone of Brutality is the right pick for this slot. Now, rounding out, we get into attack reactions in the red slot. Ancestral Empowerment, great card, costs 0, it gives an attack action card +1, and it draws a card. So I mean, if you can use this to give your third attack, ensure your third attack hits to trigger your Mask of Momentum, you're going to draw a card off that, and you're going to draw a card off the Ancestral Empowerment. Fantastic. Auto include 2 of these always. Razor Reflex is up next. This is just another great card that helps you get that damage through to help trigger your Mask of Momentum. Costs 1, but you can use it on your Kodachis or you can use it on an attack action card. And if you use it on an attack action card, it gets +3, and if it hits, gains go again. So situational, but it's very flexible. You can use it in multiple situations. Lastly, we've got Sigil of Solace. This is not an attack reaction. It just gains you 3 life. It costs 0, but gains you 3 life. You can cast it anytime. You can do it on your turn. You can do it on your opponent's turn. So this is really, really, really good card, especially in Blitz when you only start with 20 life. Very, very good, especially against something like Wizard that's hitting you for tons of arcane damage. This card is really, really handy to have to get you out of if you lose tempo, you fall behind. This card is a lifesaver, trust me. And that's about it. That brings us to the end. That's 40 cards. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this deck tech. If you have any questions about it or any feedback, any ideas on how to improvement, let me know, please, down in the comments. Also, let me know which hero you want to see next. I really, really want to start doing more of these deck techs. I think I'm going to start profiling some of the tournament winners from our Discord group. There's tournaments happening there almost every week, so I'd like to profile some of the tournament winning decks from our group. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. Really appreciate it, guys. Later.